The colonel stood in the briefing room, his voice sharp as steel, his eyes cutting through the gathered pilots like an approaching storm. "We don't have time to debate this," he stated, his tone leaving no room for argument. "The target is on the move. The weather window is closing fast. I don't care what you fly. Any jet will do. Just get it done." The words hit hard, not because they were shouted. His voice was controlled, almost quiet, but because of what lay beneath them. Immense pressure, a raw, palpable fear. This was a mission no one wanted, but everyone in that room understood its necessity. Intelligence had been tracking an armed convoy, snaking its way through treacherous mountain passes. The cargo weapons powerful enough to destabilize an entire region, to ignite a conflict that would cost countless lives. The mission profile was a nightmare. The terrain was tight, a maze of canyons and peaks that would test any pilot's skill. Even worse, it was protected by brutal state-of-the-art air defenses. This was a mission where a single moment of hesitation meant failure. And failure meant a catastrophe on a global scale. A heavy silence filled the room, thick with unspoken anxieties. In the corner, almost hidden in the shadows, Captain Sarah Donovan tightened her grip on the flight folder in her hands. She was the only A-10 pilot on the roster that day. She was younger than most of the other pilots in the room, with fewer combat hours logged in her book. She was often overlooked, her aircraft considered a relic by some, but Sarah knew the A-10, the Warthog, in a way they didn't. She didn't just fly the machine, she felt it. The Hog wasn't a sleek, beautiful piece of engineering. It didn't scream through the sky at supersonic speeds. It growled. It endured. It was a beast, built for one purpose: to fly low, right into the heart of danger, and still bring its pilot home. When the colonel uttered those 4 dismissive words, "Any jet will do," something shifted inside her. The other pilots, the F-16 and F-15 jockeys, exchanged knowing glances. Their jets were fast, clean, surgical. But this mission wasn't going to be clean. It was going to be dirty, brutal, and ugly. It was a mission made for the Hog. Slowly, Sarah stood up. The scraping of her chair was the only sound in the silent room. "Sir, I'll take it." Every head turned, the room froze. The colonel turned slowly, his gaze locking onto her. He studied her for a long, intense moment, measuring her, weighing her resolve. Then he gave a single, decisive nod. "Briefing ends. Wheels up in 10. Out on the tarmac, under the harsh glare of the floodlights, the A-10 crouched like an old, scarred warhorse. Its grey paint was faded, chipped, and stained, a testament to its long service, but it felt alive. Sarah ran her hand along the cool metal of the fuselage, a familiar ritual. "All right, old friend," she whispered. "Let's show them who you really are." The twin engines didn't scream to life. They let out a deep, guttural roar, not a sound of speed, but a promise of raw, unyielding power. As she cleared the base and climbed towards the mountains, the world became a blur of instruments and sky. The calm before the storm. Then she entered the mission zone, and all hell broke loose. The first missile came fast, a streak of white smoke against the dark rock. She broke hard, jamming the stick over and diving low, hugging the canyon walls where the enemy's radar would struggle to find her. Another missile launch warning screamed in her headset. This one was closer. She felt the impact, a violent shudder that shook the entire airframe. Her right wing was clipped. A constellation of warning lights flared to life on her dashboard, a Christmas tree of failures. But the Hog held. It was wounded, but it was still flying. She pushed the nose back down, fighting the controls. Through a break in the clouds, she saw it. The convoy, a line of armored trucks, crawling through the pass like a deadly serpent. Her finger hovered over the trigger on her control stick. For a fleeting second, she remembered the doubt in the briefing room. The silence, the dismissive eyes of the other pilots. Guns hot. The GAU-8 Avenger cannon roared. It wasn't a firing sound. It was like the sky itself was being torn apart. A torrent of 30mm rounds, each the size of a milk bottle, slammed into the lead vehicle, which vaporized in a spectacular explosion of fire and shrapnel. Chaos erupted on the ground. The convoy scattered, another missile alert, flares. Smoke, fire. The world outside her cockpit was a maelstrom of destruction. Her jet was bleeding. Hydraulic fluid, the controls felt sluggish, heavy. Every system screamed at her to turn back, to egress, to save herself. But she didn't. She stayed. She pushed back in lining up another run. Rocket after rocket left the pylons under her wings. Burst after burst from the cannon tore the convoy apart. She was a force of nature, a harbinger of destruction unleashed in that narrow pass. She stayed in the fight until the last truck was a burning wreck, a funeral pyre on the mountain road. Only then did she finally pull away, her battered jet groaning in protest. The flight back was a battle in itself, wrestling with a dying machine. But the Hog, true to its nature, held together just long enough. Back at the base, the colonel was waiting on the tarmac. He watched in silence as she climbed down from the cockpit of the heavily damaged jet, its skin peppered with shrapnel holes and its right wing mangled. She walked towards him, exhausted but steady. "You did the job," he said, his voice quiet, stripped of its earlier sharpness. Sarah met his eyes, a flicker of defiance still in hers.